Chafing Armor Podcast, episode 23. Totally not a mimic. Welcome back to the Chafing Armor Podcast. I'm your host and halfway naked Dungeon Master, Michael Corley.
Too much information.
Our air conditioning is somewhat having trouble upstairs, so I have my shirt off, is what I mean.
It's a party.
Ladies.
Great to know, Father.
Yes. That's what my firstborn wants to hear. With me tonight is Dare. Dare, tell everyone who you're playing.
Tonight I am playing Tix Birchmanson, a cleric who is annoyed by the people around him, but really wants to help them.
That is an excellent summation of him. And also with us is Izzy. Izzy, tell everyone who you are playing.
I'm playing Morezi Mugra, a half-orc barbarian who's just kind of in it for the ride.
Absolutely. And tell everyone the name of your pet lizard.
Oh, yes, Akatosh, or just Aki, because copyrights.
We will refer to it as Aki, so we do not get the pantsuit off of us. And last but certainly not least is James. And James, tell everyone who you will be playing.
Hello! I am playing Penton Shellis, a spell scale sorcerer, who is living a life of poverty and a life of fun.
Party boy.
And tell everyone very quickly, what is the name of your, not pet, but familiar?
Yes, my familiar. Her name is Afiel. She's a raven.
So we've got Aki and Afiel, and now I kind of want to do a side quest with nothing but adventures with Aki and Afiel where they solve crimes. So when we last left our heroic group, y'all had been at sea in the Sand Swallow Sea. You had been on a boat. You've been trying to cross this extremely dangerous sea when you had been beset by pirates. In a heroic battle, you had defeated them, all but one, Punchy McBeardface, whose name you still have not learned, and he has told you two things about his ship, which y'all have now boarded. One is that there is a treasure chest with something valuable on board, and two, that there is a prisoner who may have information about that chest. But deep, deep in the ocean, as you step onto the pirate ship, something enormous moves. Not much, but it moves. And the ocean, this very still ocean of the Sand Swallow Sea, rocks back and forth. And you are all shaken to and fro as a just completely unexpected wave moves across the ocean. The small wooden bridge, the plank that they've laid down between the two ships, snap. And you can see something happening back on your ship. There's some kind of kerfuffle going on. And without the slightest hesitation, and we'll get into exactly why in the near future, without pause, Osokai scrambles up in his partially shifted form up to the mast of the pirate ship you're on, and he leaps across before you're separated back to the other ship and heads down to the decks below. He gestures to all of you to basically keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to handle it over here. And leaves you to this pirate vessel that is rocking on the sea. What would you like to do?
I'm going to puke.
Very reasonable.
No, let us take Punchy McBeardface and find out where this prisoner is being held.
It is not hard to find. Underneath there is a very small brig, clearly only meant for one person. And there you find a human who's in pretty rough shape. He is bald, he's very lithe, very thin, though you don't know if that's from malnutrition or just the way he is. and he is looking at you all imploringly with red-rimmed eyes.
Do we need a key to open it up, or is it some type of outside latch?
It is locked, but the keys are hanging from a small loop nearby, a small loop of leather.
Go get the keys, and as I'm getting ready to unlock it, I ask, "What's your name, and how did you get into this predicament?"
He says that his name is Pharaoh, with an F. His name is Pharaoh, and that he got mixed up in all of this because he had some rather sensitive information about a valuable object. And the pirates both beat that out of him, he says in not so many words, and also, of course, using that information, they were able to acquire this extremely valuable object.
Rezi asks, like, how valuable? How many coins could we get for this stuff?
Imagine filling this ocean with coins. That is how valuable this object is.
I'm guessing he means the other half of the staff.
That would be a good guess.
His eyes gleam when you say the other half of the staff.
I mean, not that we know about the other half.
Totally, not at all.
Why are you in it for the money, prisoner guy?
Well, I'm an expert treasure hunter.
Well, an expert treasure hunter wouldn't get caught.
He kind of chuckles, even though he's in really bad shape, and he goes, "Well, I had a bad day."
I guess so. So you're saying they found it?
Yes, they found it. It was contained in a very special chest, and it was trapped, shall we say? And I was one of the few people that knew how to unlock it.
Oh, so you mean maybe like the chest that's upstairs in the captain's quarters?
I wouldn't imagine Captain Cinder would trust it anywhere else but in his personal quarters.
Well, we're never going to have to worry about Captain Cinder again.
He glances over and sees that you're holding the magic torch unlit, Pinson, and his eyes kind of widen. But, he also sees that you're holding the broken form of Punchy McFistface.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, they won't be bothering us.
He says, "Well, I really appreciate that. I would be happy to assist you if you would simply free me, because I'm not doing so great down here. I could help you out."
Well, let's see what we can do for each other here.
I go ahead and unlock the lock.
Just no funny business.
He nods fervently, and you see little beads of sweat on his face. And you unlock the door to let in, and it's the same lock to undo his chains.
Perfect. And maybe we can put Beardy inside here once we've gotten you out.
I think that's a wonderful idea.
Punchy McBeardface is not a fan of this idea, but he also is in no shape to fight you.
Well,
go ahead.
I suppose we could just throw him overboard to whatever moved under the waves. That might be fun.
He says, it's not so bad in here.
Yeah, maybe the inside of the cell would be preferable. At least then, we could feed you instead of being fed to something.
So
he limps inside.
So I immediately put the chains on him and snap them shut and lock the door behind me as I go out and hang the keys across the room back where they were. All right, Beardy Boy, what is your name and what was your function on this ship?
I was the hit squad. It was my job to take people down whenever they needed taking down. I was also the backup navigator, but I wasn't as good at it as the real navigator. And I am sorry. My name is Bono.
Okay, Bono, you just sit tight, and we're gonna go see what's going on elsewhere. We'll come back for you, I promise.
He does
eventually
not seem to like his chances.
By by the way, Merezi, I checked this out and it seems to be working. So I want to give this to you, and I hand Merezi the torch.
That's pretty sick. Is that the
There is
torch, as in the actual torch that lights up sometimes?
Yes,
or like
the magic clicky torch.
Yes, it has a rune on its side, the dwarven rune for fire.
Right.
But it has apparently also been damaged, so you
So
have
just
been
be
warned.
careful. Only use it if you have to.
I'm gonna put it in one of my probably existent numerous adventurer pockets, just but very, very slowly and carefully.
Adventure pockets. I like it.
I'm imagining all the pouches that superheroes had in the 90s.
Yes.
Mid-90s pouches.
Yes, exactly. So where would you like to go now?
To back to the captain's quarters.
Come on,
It's
Pharaoh.
a short walk up.
Do you need me to heal you up a little bit, or are you functioning?
He says, "What I really just need is some water and eventually something to eat. We're not very sharing with their rations, I fear."
Well, I'm sure we can find something up above. Let's take a look.
As we're walking, I hand him a piece of jerky.
He devours it. It is clear that he is extremely hungry. You don't know how much of his thin frame was from being starved, but clearly some of it is.
Just take your time. Don't want to go overboard on that. No pun intended. Before you get some water, you're going to end up just throwing it up again. So just take it slow, buddy.
You make your way to the captain's personal chambers, which is, of course, much larger than the other ones, but is still relatively small since it is a ship. And as y'all saw before, there is a large treasure chest at the other end. And as you enter, you see it ripple ever so slightly.
I draw my weapon. Not gonna take a whole turn in initiative on that.
So about this chest, it seems that needs some help to open. What exactly is going on with this interesting piece of machinery?
Well, it's really quite simple. You see, sometimes it's a mimic.
Sometimes?
Yes, as I'm sure great adventurers such as yourselves know, that mimics exist in various places, and most often they love to assume the form of a treasure chest. And this one is sometimes a mimic. There is an enchantment on it.
Aha. So when the moon is full, or there's an eclipse, or somewhat.
Well, it seems to be related to visualizing what's inside. So if you can picture clearly in your head what it is you want, then it will open if that thing is inside. But of course, if it's not, and I've had a lot of time to think about this. My guess is if you're the owner and you know what's inside, then you can visualize it clearly. Whereas if you can't, then you'll be attacked.
Huh.
And from across the way, you see the treasure chest. You're pretty sure it just grinned at you.
I grin right back. I'm ready for this.
Well, let's see. If it is part of the staff, I mean, I've seen what the staff looks like, right? Whole?
Yes, you have. You were actually part of the party that went on the quest to find it. So you have seen it whole, and more importantly, you are the owner of the other half of the staff.
Well, technically that's true, yeah.
And so there literally is no one probably in the kingdom who knows what the staff looks like more than Pinton.
All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to peek at the half of staff that we have now, just to kind of get a visual on how it's broken, just in case the mimic is feeling particularly persnickety about what I'm supposed to be visualizing, just so I can kind of visualize the opposite end and how it's broken, so I can just get a very clear view of it.
Okay.
And I'm going to very stupidly approach the chest with this fixed in my mind and walk up to it and see what it does.
I'll flank him to the right and a step behind him.
I'll
Gotcha.
go left.
So I would like you to make an intelligent roll as you attempt to concentrate and keep this image in your mind.
Oh, but I have concentration as a one of my skills too. So
Well, then instead, I would like you to make a concentration, because this is exactly a concentration roll.
okay.
Ah.
It's not hard for you to
This is
imagine it.
D&D.
The hard part is not imagining it. The hard part is continuing to imagine it and not
Right.
suddenly thinking about puppies.
Right. All right. Let's give it a shot.
Stay puffed marshmallow man.
Exactly.
Okay, so 16 plus 5 is a 21.
21. So you all see as he approaches, the chest licks its lips as he approaches and comes closer and closer, and he reaches out with his hand and you touch a completely normal chest. And you know, Penton, from your experiences in the world, that the primary way that a mimic gets you is that it's incredibly sticky. And that it will actually grapple you with its pseudopods, stick to you, and then literally beat you to death.
Right.
And so you know that at this moment, this is a normal chest.
All right. Well, I'm going to quickly take the opportunity to open it.
Okay, you click it open. Inside, there is an assortment of treasure that equals 50 gold, because it is a pirate chest after all.
Mhm.
But that is not the, primary thing. The primary thing you see is the other end of the staff of Seraphim.
Okay. I'm going to get a piece of cloth and pick the other end of the staff up with it in between me and the staff. Just hold it with the cloth so I don't come into contact physically with it.
You wisely remember that touching the staff was incredibly perilous,
Yes.
especially in its broken form. And especially the player James, who saw what happened to a creature who held on to the end of a staff for very long.
Yeah, that wasn't pretty.
So you do not feel the ripple of power going through you as you pick it up and lift away. Morezi, I would like you to make a roll of dexterity.
Oh, fun. Let's see here. First roll of the day. Oh! I blame this on it hitting off my pencil. That's a critical failure.
Critical failure. So chalk it up that you were focused 100% on this. Even still, your danger sense, your barbarian sense, your combat reflexes, you know something's coming, but you just simply can't turn soon enough. Fortunately for you, the thing you are struck with is not intended to do damage. It is soft, and it is wet. And
Gross.
thuds against you and skitters across the ground.
It's a spitball.
Do y'all remember that Osokai threw Captain Cinder at the man with the two-handed sword and decapitated him on that man's sword?
Right.
What you see skittering across the ground is a head. Captain Cinder's head that went overboard.
Oh.
And its tongue is lolling out. And so, real quick, Penton, could you make another concentration roll for me?
Sure. Oh, that was a 19 this time, so total of 24.
So you see the chest start to ripple as your attention is naturally drawn from here, and it starts to ripple, and maybe even like a slight pseudopod starts to rise up, and like at first it's not even working, but then you remember, oh wait, no, I've got the staff now, and so you imagine the inside with just the treasure, and it calms down and turns back into just a chest that's open. Standing, or I should say charging at all of you, by the way, both Tix and Morezi are right next to the door because y'all didn't want to get too close because you're afraid you'd get in the way. There is a creature charging at you.
Oh, fun. What does said creature look like?
So, you know the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Well, forget about that. Think about that think about if someone ripped off the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and instead did the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but with sharks.
Street sharks.
Street sharks! Yes, I was wondering if someone was going to get that reference. A giant humanoid shark is barreling at y'all, and he has a coral scimitar in his hand.
I want to befriend him.
Well, he does not want to befriend you. And I need everyone to roll for initiative.
Come on, no more ones. Oh, I got something better. A 3.
A 3?
Yep. Gotta get my bad rolls out before it's lethal damage.
And Tix?
Tix got a 12.
And Penson?
It's 8.
And 8. Now, you would think it's impossible for him to have done worse than Morezi, but even I forgot my 20-sided die when I came upstairs, and I've got my app, and staring at me on my app is a 2. This isn't even my bad DM dice. This is my phone betraying me now. So that will put Tix first, and you are in fact technically closest, Tix. This giant shark man is hurtling at you.
Oh, fun. So I am going to cast Protection from Evil on myself.
Okay.
Which gives me +2 to my armor class, and Protection from Evil and Mind Spells.
Feel the protection of the god Glitter Gold flow into you against evil. And as he comes towards you, do you want to do anything as far as movement?
I will move to the side so that I am flanking him, and so that he is between Morezi and myself.
Very wise. Do a flanking maneuver. And that brings us to Penton, who is next to the chest, holding the rod of Seraphim, the other half of the rod. And you are also trying to keep in your mind that image. By the way, as long as you are concentrating on this, you will not be able to cast any spells.
Right. Well, at this point, I've got the rod in hand, so I'm thinking I'm just going to back away from the chest and assume that since its job is no longer holding on to that staff, it's gotten to quote-unquote its owner, it's just going to go back to doing whatever it was doing, which is guarding whatever else is inside, which we don't care about.
He is like, you're fine with that.
Or at least I don't care about. Money, whatever.
Morezi cares.
Morezi cares.
We'll deal with that. We'll deal with that after the street sharks.
So you are very fortunate that you decided to wisely back away from this thing. One, because of course you suspect that there's just only so long you'll be able to keep this up, even though you rolled very, very well and did an excellent job. But also crashing through one of the 2 windows in this captain's room is another shark that comes crashing through the window, and it has some kind of long harpoon-looking device, and it clearly was intending to crash down on you and stab you, and its harpoon just thuds into the wood where you would have been shortly before. But that is his move, and he is now not stabbing you, and he's quite frustrated by that, and he's gnashing his giant teeth. And that brings us to Morezi.
I'm just gonna straight up attack whoever's closer.
Well, it's definitely the one who is charging you from outside, who clearly threw the head of Captain Cinder.
Well, yeah, that guy's just a jerkwad. Let's see. Oh, okay. How's an 11 do?
An 11?
Yeah.
Well, what it is going to do is not hit. He is wearing. He's actually wearing a similar. He's actually wearing a similar armor to you. It's a kind of scale, though in this case,
Haha.
literal scales that from some kind of sea creature that they have fashioned into armor, and it is able to deflect your halberd.
I'm assuming that the shark doesn't have a neck, so I'd like to see what these clothes look like on him.
They are strapped in with some kind of seaweed-like vine, just strapping in his body.
Work it.
And he looks sickening. He looks absolutely sickening, and he is now going to take a swipe at you, Morezi, with his coral thing, and he gets a 19. Will that defeat your armor class?
Yes, it will.
Yes, I was afraid of that. He had enough bonuses to do so.
Fight these sharks.
And he does 7 points of damage after his damage bonus. So make sure and note that. Your character, I don't think you took any damage last time. Well,
no, you didn't take any damage last time.
You didn't take any damage, and if you did, then we'll say that you were healed by your wonderful cleric. 7, which is not an insignificant amount of damage.
Okay, yeah, I'm down to 30, so that negates all of the that would negate what I was thinking anyways, because I realized that this is supposed to be right after the last episode, so the whatever Tix did would still be in effect.
Oh, the bonus hit points, right?
Yes. So those are wiped 30, away.
So.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to have him, though.
That would bring it to the second shark, but he has already moved, trying to attack Pinton. So that brings us back to Tix.
I will try and use my super giant diminutive size to bull rush the shark guy into the mimic.
That's what I was hoping for.
Now, you are going to have to... I guess really what you could do, since he is engaged Morezi, he's actually run past you now, so that is actually feasible. And especially because you specifically said before that you were trying to flank him, so you moved to the side. So I want you to roll for that bull rush.
And I'm going to bull rush with the tip of my axe right up his tail.
Go for it.
And that is a 19, 20, 23.
Well, the thing that giant sharks never think of is their knees, because they're usually in the water, and it's not a big deal. But diminutive Tix comes barreling forward and just slams into his knees, and he collapses forward. Morezi, you actually kind of have to get out of the way a little bit, and he falls forward. I'm actually going to say with such a good roll, he falls to the ground. And you know what he's not thinking about? He's not thinking about treasure. And the mimic explodes outwards. Those of you who have seen The Thing, it is just an instantaneous transformation. And Pinton, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, I'm really glad I kept my concentration, because it just... and 5 different pseudopods extend outward, huge teeth from the front, and the lock becomes this misshapen 2 eyes, and it attacks instantaneously.
I'm going to have nightmares.
It's actually very horrifying. It's a very body horror, like, this ain't right kind of thing.
Good.
And it just barely hits. He is flat-footed because he was knocked to the ground, and he's also, at a minus. Taking all of those into account, the thing gets just enough to hit, and it does. Oh, he lucked out. It only does 8 points of damage because it gets multiple attacks, so it rolled very low. But it just starts pummeling into him, and he needs to save. And he rolled a 1.
Ooh,
Yay!
So 1. That is very bad for him, because as these things punch him, you see that they kind of just onto his side, and it begins dragging him towards the mimic. And that brings us to Pinton.
Ah, yes. Okay. Well, after seeing that horrific scene, I am. Let's see. We've got the guy, the harpoon guy who jumped through the window.
Mm-hmm.
He's still around. He's probably near the mimic as well, because He was near me when he jumped through. But let's see. I feel like I'm not going to be very effective in this situation right now. Let me see if there's something else I can do to help out rather than getting in the way. Yeah, I'm going to cast a shield on myself just to make sure that I and the rest and the other half of the staff are protected right now, because it's close quarters and I don't want to hurt anybody else, and I got to keep away from the mimic with the thing. So that's what I'm going to do. So that will give me a +4 to my AC.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Could you weaponize the staff by just jabbing it at people?
That's not something I plan on doing.
Well, then it's a good thing that Penton has it, not Morezi.
It is definitely something Morezi would think of, and that's actually good role playing. That she would think, hey, well, why should we not use the ring?
Yeah.
But Penton,
just want to help.
Exactly. Penton realizes that through him, it would wield a power far too great. Anyway, do not sue us. This brings us to Morezi. You've just watched the guy who did 7 points of damage to you be dragged towards the mimic as it is pummeling him. And there's also the gentleman with the harpoon who is focused on Penton.
Yeah, let's fight the gentleman with the harpoon.
Okay. You also will... You're not... As far as you can tell, this is a mimic after all. As far as you can tell, you're not in range of it right now, but you need to be aware of your movements, if you see what I mean. Now, you've got a halberd, which has good range, but you do not want to be in range of this thing.
I'm assuming that, like, the opposite side of the mimic I'm going to charge from, and I did roll a 22, so...
22? Very nice.
I've got... My halberd gives me a higher base attack bonus.
Yes, because you have weapon specialization, and you do indeed hit.
Good. That's the first time in 17 years. 7 damage.
7 damage. So you return in kind, even though this is a different shark boy who also has scale armor, but your halberd, you thrust it forward and it bursts through his scale armor, and you hear him scream a word that you do not understand. It is definitely not a language.
Poopy face. Darn.
Very possibly so. That brings us to the gentleman who has been co-opted by this mimic, and he rolls a 7 for his grapple, so he is disadvantaged. He is still going to try to attack the mimic. Okay, this is not funny, guys.
Yes, it is.
This is not funny. I started with an initiative of 2. He then rolls a 1 earlier, and now he rolls a 3. This is
funny.
I mean, like you would almost think I'm making this up. I'm gonna take a screenshot of my phone and I'm gonna upload this, because no one else will believe me otherwise. But so he is unsuccessful. By the way, he also has disadvantage while he is being grappled, and so he cannot escape this mimic, which is pummeling him and does 15 points of damage. He is in really bad shape. It is literally pounding his face into the deck, and you see the deck begin to splinter below, and shark blood oozing onto the wood. And that brings us to the gentleman with the harpoon, who was going to attack Penton, but because Morezi jumped in, he shifts his attack and attacks you.
Wow.
Guy, I don't want to play anymore.
Now what?
A 1.
Oh dear.
He got a 1. He got a 1.
You are now my favorite DM.
I'm going to task you tomorrow with going to a store and buying new dice.
I'm going to get all new dice. Now this is it was bad enough that it was my DM dice from years and years on end, of my teenage years of playing Dungeons and Dragons and other game systems. But this is my phone now too that is turned against me. A 3, a 2, a 1, and another 1. Now, he did at least just not roll my something terrible happens, so he's still trapped by the mimic. But the gentleman with the harpoon who is trying to attack you just fails miserably. I'm going to say he slips in the blood of his companion and
that's
just
fun.
totally flops. And that
That's
brings us
wholesome.
back to Tix. And Tix, I would like you to dodge for me.
I will dodge.
Give me a dexterity roll, I guess would be more appropriate.
I have a 17, straight 17.
You're going to enjoy that 17 because, as I said, 5 different pseudopods came out from this mimic. And as you barreled down and took this guy down, you were just in range. And you are picking yourself up from the roll, and you see something flashing out of the corner of your eye, and you, oh! And just it smashes into the ground. And you are very glad that you made that roll, both from getting grappled, but also from getting smashed in the head. And now it is your turn.
I will use my movement to skirt around both the mimic and to the far side of the other fallen shark creature and take a swing at his head.
Go for it.
And that is only a 11.
Yes, unfortunately, with his scale armor, that even with your bonuses, if you have not had them, that will not do it, unfortunately. Perhaps because you were aiming for his head, and he's nearly 7 feet tall. That might have been part of the problem. But
Well,
that
I was
brings
hoping
us
he was
to-
on the floor.
Yeah. So the harpooned one, he is still upright, though he has taken 7 points of damage. And that brings us to Penton, the beshielded Penton.
All right. Well, let's see. Here's what I'm going to do. Since the one standing shark man is occupied, I'm going to take a look out the door and see if there's anybody else coming our way.
Very wise. Very wise. You look outside, and you do see something, but it's not other figures. You see that that incredible wave that separated this boat from your boat has taken you quite a ways off course. Of course, it's somewhat foggy, it's nighttime, you don't know exactly where you are, but you can see in the distance that you are approaching a copse of dead trees. And you can see the boat is slowly coming towards this copse of dead trees. So clearly it must be somewhat shallower than where you had been before.
A bit.
And you can also see a slightly thicker fog going through it, but you do not see any other figures as you look out.
Okay, so in other words, our boat's being thrust toward land.
Yes, as far as
Okay.
you can tell.
Yeah, or there's floating trees out in the middle of the sea. You never
Right.
know. But
Hey,
that's
maybe
best.
it's a giant spider upside down. You don't
Could
know.
be.
Ooh.
But best guess is we're on our way to land, and probably not in a good way. All right. So with that in mind, I'll run back inside and shout, "Land coming!"
Okay. And that brings us to Marezi.
I'm just gonna hit whichever shark man is nearest. I mean, probably the one who's not being already murdered by the mimic.
Good
Yes,
plan.
that is the one not being murdered by the mimic, and definitely you don't want to attack the other one because that would put you in range of the mimic.
Yeah, murdered by mimics is good.
Murdered by mimics. I should have made that the title. It's going to be our new band name.
9.
A 9? Okay. You do not successfully strike, perhaps because of the rocking of the boat as you approach shallower waters. And we now get to the gentleman getting his head pounded in by the mimic. He does get a 9, but unfortunately that is not good enough, so he does not escape the mimic. And the mimic does... Ooh. I can't believe he's still alive. It has done a total of 17 points of damage, but the mimic actually only rolled 2 ones. So he is still barely alive, though he is just being smashed and smashed and smashed by the mimic as he tries to fend it off. And that brings us to Harpoon Boy, and Harpoon Boy hefts up his harpoon and he is trying to charge you, Morezi. He's trying to pin you to the wall with his harpoon.
Oh, well, that's just not right.
And will an 18 hit?
I am so mad. Wait. Did,
what about that protection from evil? No, that was on...
that was on Tix.
That was on Tix.
Yeah, but
you.
Tix did cast a, last session, he cast an assist or something, or it was called aid.
Yeah, that was what the temporary hit points came from.
Yeah, but didn't it also give armor class?
Let's find out.
Let's see. Aid does +1 on attack rolls and 1d8 temporary points per level. So, no, you just get +1 on attack rolls.
It is. I've just been stabbed by a big spear boy.
Yes, and in fact, he does 8 points of damage.
Oh, God.
So you've taken 15 points of damage. That is a lot of damage. And he actually slams you into the wall, and only your very tough scale mail is keeping you from, being literally skewered. And as you're being shoved backwards, you feel Aki scramble up more towards your shoulders so that he's not crushed from behind you.
Oh, yeah, that lizard is just hanging on to me.
Yeah, he decided to join. It was his choice. He decided to join her. I'm sorry, it was her choice as you went on. But he does not take any damage. But he is doing a concern, as they say.
Yeah, don't feel too bad because at this point, if those had been my attacks against me, I'd be dead twice right now. So
that's right. Henson would be hamburger at this point, but you are a beefy barbarian and much tougher. And speaking of not as tough, but still tough, that brings us to Tix.
I'm going to swing at the back of Harpoon Boy's legs to get him off of Morezi.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that is a natural 20.
Ho.
Double damage.
Okay.
Somebody's losing a leg.
That is 10 points of damage.
10 points of damage.
Oh, well, no. It's because it's a battle axe. It's ×3.
That's right. I forgot about that.
For critical damage. So that's 15 and 24 points of damage total.
Sheesh.
So you, Morezi, just catch the spear, and you like catch it with both of your hands, and it like slams you into the wall, and you feel the tip, slightly bursting through a few of your scale mail armor as it's just starting to edge its way into your flesh. And suddenly, the shark, who's 7 feet tall, becomes, 5.5 feet tall, because Tix comes and sweeps his battle axe, two-handed, and takes out both of his legs. They are gone. And where is he not wearing armor? In his legs. And he falls to the ground screaming and is quickly bleeding to death. He is going to be dead.
What does the scream of a shark sound like?
It sounds exactly like a dinosaur bellowing. That is exactly. And you hear him spitting out various curses and things. And I would like, Tix, for you to make a religion check.
Religion check. That is a whole 10.
You hear him say one of the names. You're not quite able to pick it out with that roll, but you know that you're pretty sure he called out the name of his god. But it's in another language, and he's also screaming as he bleeds to death. So you're pretty sure that he called out for a god, but you're not quite able to make it out. And combat is over as the last of life of the first shark is being beat out of him. You then see the mimic gather the body towards it, and you hear a slow, monotonous, relentless crunching sound as it begins to feed.
Tasty.
And that ends Chafing Armor, episode 23. Where are our adventurers heading to? What is in those trees? What does a shark taste like? Find out in the next episode. Thank you for coming in, everyone.
Sure.
And we didn't die! Yay!
No dying is good. Make sure and keep track of your damage and spells used, and we'll be getting back soon, and we will all be rolling with you soon.